Let's take a look at the Los Angeles Lakers. Their 24-25 season, of course, there was a huge trade. There are interesting performances right across the board, and there are things we need to take into account heading into future seasons. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and it's not clocking to you that I'm standing on business. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free and we are available on all platforms, so you subscribe, you double bang. You know what's coming up. Wednesday, 25th of June, 8 p.m. Eastern, live NBA draft show. I'd like you to be there with me. I want you to experience it. We can talk about our feelings together, and we can see what goes down. 8 p.m. We might go a little bit earlier, depending on what stuff happens before the draft, but around 8 p.m. is when we're going live for the NBA draft show. We're here to talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. It is World Croc Day, not the shoes. The animal, which is... Crocs are more dangerous than alligators, aren't they? They're definitely more dangerous than caimans. Caimans are the small ones. Crocs are bigger than alligators. I don't know what their aggression level difference is. Anyway, I'm not sure that's what we're here to talk about. What we are here to talk about is the Lakers. Let's go through a little bit of the details regarding their previous season, or what just happened in the year that just went past. They obviously had a disrupted season due to a trade, injuries, but still finished with a 50-32 record, which was better than I thought they'd do. They've got the Memorial Bronny James pick number 55 in the upcoming draft, as their first round pick has gone. How is their first round pick gone? Well, it's actually one of the picks that was part of the Anthony Davis deal, who's also gone. Now, he was gone for good reason, because they got Luka Doncic out of it. And now we know the Lakers are going to have to be very active in the offseason, because one of the things that was a problem, hence the failed Mark Williams trade, was they didn't have a real center. They didn't have a guy that fit with Luka Doncic. They didn't have a center who was actually even useful enough to be playing solid minutes. So they are going to be active. Now, they don't have that first round pick to be able to make that move, but that's okay. They've got future ones, and we'll see what they do. Pick 55, it's honestly just not going to amount to anything unless it's Aaron Wiggins. This is not a pick that means anything realistically for any teams. But we know it's the Lakers. We know there is appeal with the Lakers through free agency, location, nostalgia, however you want to phrase it. Let's look at their free agent situation at the moment. There is one guy that they've got as a non-guarantee, and I'm going to guess that most of you didn't remember that the big fella shake your booty Milton was on this team. He's got a $3 million non-guarantee. He was a part of the... Honestly, now I'm just trying to... Dorian Finney-Smith trade. I knew he came from the Nets. Where the hell did he come from? Dorian Finney-Smith trade. He came across. He didn't play. I think he's cooked. He's washed. He won't be on the team, most likely. When I say won't be on the team, the only reason that he would be on the team and guaranteed is because they want to use that salary slot and his salary as part of a trade. But it's not that much different to a minimum, so I'm not really sure there's a real issue there. Jordan Goodwin signed middle of the season on a two-way contract. He played exceedingly well, as he seemingly always does. They converted it to a full contract, and now he's got a $2.3 million team option for next season, league minimum. I would guess that he is back. He's a pretty strong, third-string point guard to have. We know that when he's given opportunities in fantasy, he's an elite rebounder with good defensive numbers, and he is a usable and capable player. So I would imagine that he returns there. The big question is going to be in the player options, I think. Not that LeBron is going to opt out, because even if he opts out or opts in, he's going to play for the team. I don't think there's any worry about that. LeBron has a $52.5 million player option, so he can either just pick up the player option, which to me would be an indication that this would be his last season, or he opts out and signs another 1+1 for $110 million or whatever the number is, and then he makes a decision again the season after. So I don't think that matters all that much in terms of LeBron's player option. Dorian Finney-Smith does, and he's got a $15 million player option. He seems to be on it, and this is how the NBA is structured at the moment, is that there's not that much that happens in free agency. So there are certain guys who are going to be free agents, and obviously the markets are not that big. But Finney-Smith is going to be coveted. $15.4 million player option. He will opt out of that. He could easily get, maybe he only gets $15 million a year, but for 4 more guaranteed years, 4 and 60. Maybe it's 472. Is he that good? Not really. But is he a useful player on contending teams as a defender and 3-and-D wing, yes, I would also throw this out. Is these sort of players, shout out to Jay Crowder, if I'm going to do Jay Crowder, you're going to do it all caps. Shout out to Jay Crowder! These sort of 3-and-D players who have these little 3-point shooting spikes, they can just disappear. So Finney-Smith, I do think will be back with the Lakers, and he's had so much success with Luka in the past. There is a chance he Torrey Craigs it. He Torian Princes it. He just becomes useless. Maybe not next season. But that's the interesting one as to what happens with him and what teams offer. There are 3 unrestricted free agents, all of them centers. Jackson Hayes, who, despite having some deficiencies, this was his best season. Doesn't mean he's good, but this was his best season. Alex Len, the fact that teams were falling over themselves to sign him, he agreed with the Pacers, then he reneged because the Lakers wanted him to give him minutes. He played about 1 game as a starter. They went, oh no, what are we doing? So he's done. He's actually washed. And the other one is Markieff Morris, who again, did you remember Markieff Morris was on this team and played minutes on this team? He's also incredibly washed. So I don't think that Len and Morris will be, I bloody hope they're not prioritised. Jackson Hayes, I'd imagine, would be back. But again, that's going to depend on what else they do at the centre spot. And then they've got a restricted guy, 2-way contract, Christian Koloko, who played a lot earlier in the season, coming back from his blood clot issue. Then he started to run into issues with games played, and they would have liked to use him, but his play also fell off at the end of the season. That's when they went with more Jackson Hayes. So I think they could look to bring Koloko back. I'm not going to suggest that it's going to be the highest of priorities, though. So now let's get into talking about the players. And let's start with, of course, look, I don't even know, and I know you probably know what I'm going to say about LeBron, and it's the obvious thing to say is that, like, we can talk about him declining, and he does, but he still produces. Look, this is literally unprecedented. The man is 40 years old. He played 70 games. He played 35 minutes a night. He had a 31 usage, averaging 24, 8, and 8 with a steal. 51, 78, 38. He was the 16th ranked player for category leagues. What? 9th in points leagues, 47 points. Yes, look at his delta for the advanced metrics, 16th and 17th percentile, because he was been coming from such a high level that there is a fall off, and he is getting worse. But 99th percentile passing creation, 99th percentile offensive load. Defensively, fallen way off. We understand that. And every year we're going to be like, LeBron's going to come in, and what was his ADP this year? 24? And go, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, it's LeBron, man. Like, he's going to fall off at some point. At this point, he's not. Even though he has fallen off. But he hasn't. But he has. But he hasn't. I mean, he has fallen off. Like, Chris Paul's fallen off. This is not the same thing. So, yes, Luka is there, and that's allegedly going to take some load off. But we've been saying that for 10 years. Oh, he's going to take a back seat. Doesn't happen. I mean, he does take a back seat defensively. He doesn't do anything on that end. But we're looking at it from what he produces in a fantasy point of view. And it doesn't change. It's the same sort of numbers. So, there's always the increased risk of injury with someone of this age, and he did have an injury down the stretch, we know that. Recovery takes a little bit longer usually, but like, what is going to get worse for him? Will he ever be a low usage player? The shooting gets better over his career versus what it was at the start of his career. Is he going to not finish at the rim at a high level? Like, it's already happened anyway. So maybe this is the year, and this will probably where it reverses, where I'm like, I don't worry about LeBron dropping off. I'm just going to take him in round 2 and be done with it. Take him around the turn in a points league and be okay with it? Maybe. Because, again, post-trade deadline, he was 15th, and that's when Luka was there. So he didn't get worse. Got better. He will stop. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he never does. And you can hate LeBron. You can dislike him. You can be, it's ridiculous that he's the GOAT. Kobe's my GOAT. And I want to beat MJ 6-0. Whatever nonsense you want to have. Those sort of arguments are so bogged down and actually stupid, right? They're ridiculous. Nobody has done this. Whether that makes him a GOAT or whatever, nobody has produced at this level at this age. Nobody. It's never happened. It probably will never happen again. It is actually unprecedented to see a player playing like this at this level. I just enjoy it. I know it's going to be impossible. But maybe we should. We'll come back and talk about some of the old... And for this team, normally I'm trying to do the 25 and under and the 25 and over cuts. I filtered it by 25 and under for the Lakers and 25 and over. And we had, I think, think we had 4 players under the age of 25 on this team, so I had to change it to 27. So this is the 27 and over portion of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and we've got a game that's going to happen right as I'm, just after I finish recording this. So game 5, we'll see what happens. But there are big moments and surprising results every day. And that means there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, either before tip-off or live when things are happening. Player props, same-game parlays. You've got more ways than ever now to play smart and to win big. You can combine your live prop bets as well mid-game, based on how the action unfolds, see what's happening, and then get those bets in there with those live same-game parlays. You could also get a $200 bonus bet if you are a new customer and your first $5 bet wins. So if you are new to FanDuel, well, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet, and when it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, we're here talking Lakers 24-25 season review, 27 and over age range players. Of course, LeBron fits that criteria. The next player that fits that criteria is Rui Hachimura, who continues to be at times just incredibly overrated. Incredibly. I saw someone saying that he was like not a bad facsimile of Larry Markieff. Like, okay, what are we doing? Rui, though, to his credit, has improved quite a bit through his career. He's 27 now. He averaged 13 and 5. The problem with Rui, and more specifically from a fantasy point of view, is that, yes, he shot 41% on threes. That's great. He doesn't take any. He averaged 13 and 5. All right. Cool. He never gets assists or steals or blocks. Doesn't really get to the line that much. The percentages, 51 and 77, are great. And he was the 135th ranked player in category leagues and 153rd in points leagues. You'll notice post-trade deadline after Luka arrived, and then Rui had a big injury there as well, so bear that in mind. He was 221st. And when you've got Luka and Reeves and LeBron, the other guy you want out there is Dorian Finney-Smith. It's not Rui Hachimura. Because Rui Hachimura is not a good defender. He's a weird 2-point mid-range shooter who can shoot threes but doesn't shoot enough of them, doesn't move the ball, doesn't defend well. And it's one of those players that he'll have these interesting games. He's a good shooter, but no one's worried about Rui shooting it. No one's worried about Rui having the ball in his hands, and no one's actually worried about Rui guarding them. Even though it all looks like, this could work. Again, I think he's improved a lot. The usage is quite low, 21%, 21st percentile offensive load. But 0.8 steals, 0.4 blocks in his 32 minutes, putrid. 1.4 assists, we're in Ryan Anderson territory here. If you're less than 2.5, and Anderson's the king of that. Remember Ryan Anderson? I'm sure you do. He was the king of having a combined less than 2 assists, steals, and blocks in his career, which clearly is means you're doing nothing apart from shooting, even though he was a pretty good rebounder. Part of Rui's problem is that he's also not a super strong rebounder. We've got to look at that with Ryan Anderson. Maybe, am I being too harsh on him? Maybe he wasn't that bad. No, he was. Here we go. Oh, wow. So 0.9 assists, 0.4 steals, 0.2 blocks. Yeah, that's incredible. 0.9, 0.4, 0.3, 0.8, 0.2, 0. 1, 0.5, 0. Yeah, all right. So he was the king of getting the combined less than 2 assists, steals, and blocks. The stocks, so to speak. Rui's not quite that bad. 2.6 combined. Still pretty bad. I don't imagine that Hachimura will play 32 minutes a game next season. I don't imagine that he'd even shoot 41% from 3 next season. And part of the issue with Rui is why we look at him being 135th and they go, okay, well, that's draftable, I guess. It's my 11th best player. There's no upside to get better than that. Using that roster spot as one of a cycle to stream guys in is going to have more value to you. So he's one of those players that if there's a real hot streak, if multiple players go out and he pushes to 23 usage for a period of time, then sure, we use him. But overall, he just sits as back-end dead weight. And he's 27, so he's allegedly in his prime. Again, he has improved. The shooting's improved. Defense has improved. All of it has improved. To a level where I feel good about him being a starter? No. I don't think he is a starter. He's a 7th man type of player who probably should be playing 23 minutes a night. So we'll see which direction they go with him, but I would imagine Luka, Reeves, LeBron, Finney-Smith, center is the starting group here. And if they were so small last season, they could start Hachimura and Finney-Smith and rotate small ball centers, or play those for big periods of time anyway if Hayes started. That won't be their plan heading into this next season. So it seems impossible to me that Hachimura is going to play 32 minutes unless there's an injury which comes out of the blue. That brings us to talk about Dorian Finney-Smith, because one of those guys, again, that's had significant success playing alongside Luka Doncic in the past. We talked about his free agency earlier on. He played 29 minutes. He's a very low usage guy. He's 32 already. There is the Jay Crowder of it all. He's 255th in points leagues, top 200 in category leagues, averaging 9-4 with 1.5 assists. Actually, he's actually pretty close to a Ryan Anderson as well, 2.7 combined. He shot 41 from 3 as well, with not much else being all that good. His defensive numbers have dropped. He never passes. He's a low usage player. He's one of those guys where on court, he can be useful. That's true. He can be a useful player, but I think his overall impact on court is not where it used to be. I don't think he's the same level of player that he used to be. I think we're clearly on the decline side there, and I do worry that there is going to be a steep drop. And Finney-Smith's one of those 3 and 4 nights. Can he hit me 5 threes in 3 games, get me 3 steals, 15 rebounds? I mean, that's okay, but it's not that exciting. The threes volume is good. Everything else is pretty bad, and I don't really imagine any reason why that would change. I thought that when Gabe Vincent signed with the Lakers 2 years ago, he was coming off that really strong run with the Heat. He looked great. I thought, man, there is a chance that this guy is in closing lineups for the Lakers ahead of D'Angelo Russell. I think he might be a better player, better shooter, better defender. And he played like 5 games. His knee was done. All right, that was a terrible take. It clearly was not right. This season, I had very little faith in Gabe Vincent because, again, I'd been burnt and he hadn't had a strong history of prolonged good performance. But he came back this season. He's 29 now. He looked bad again. It looked like the knee injury has sapped everything from him. It wasn't disastrous. He had shot 35% from 3. That's not great. I want 39. He averaged 1.4 assists, though, with 0.7 steals in 21 minutes, 14 usage. He was outside the top 300. Low load, big decrease in impact. That little run that Gabe Vincent had when he was a member of the Heat that we hoped would transition to a 25, 27-minute a night role with the Lakers is gone. It's a long time ago now. That's that Heat Nuggets finals. And at 29, as a smaller guard with persistent knee problems, I don't think it's coming back. When you've got Reeves and Doncic, and then you've got maybe Jordan Goodwin returning to be a part of that guard rotation, I'm not really certain what sort of stuff that Gabe provides. He used to be a pretty good steals guy in the past. He was never a high-level passer. He was actually a low-volume passer, but playing alongside LeBron and Luka, that would make sense if you'd be a defensive guy who'd hit threes. Well, we're not quite there. He did hit 1.5 threes in 21 minutes, so it's not disastrous. And he's a better player than Shake Milton, for example, but he doesn't have usage juice. He's not a ramp-up sort of a guy who's going to be a disruptive defensive player who then can go off and carry the team for 4 or 5 minutes off the bench. He's a complementary player that needs the right guys around him who's lost a level of athleticism due to injury, and the shooting hasn't recovered. And I don't see how we can get excited about him from a fantasy point of view as we move forward. This one's going to be quick. Maxi Kleber. He was traded, part of the Luka deal, didn't play in the regular season for the Lakers for some reason. I get these photos from, didn't even have a picture of him in his Lakers uniform because he did play for some reason out of nowhere in the playoffs, which is just a mind-boggling bad decision from JJ Redick. But Kleber was also a guy that there were times when he could have top 110 fantasy runs in category leagues as a 3-point shooting, rebounding, shot-blocking big man. But he's 33. He has fallen off to a level that is unbelievable. 2nd percentile in Darko's DPM delta. 29th in drip. 1st percentile offensive load. He had a 9 usage. He doesn't protect the rim like he used to. He doesn't defend like he used to. He hit 27% from 3. 39% overall. Under 10 fantasy points. 368th ranked player overall. He's 33. It's over for Kleber, I think. Yes, injuries have hurt him the last 3 years, but I think his body might be giving up. And I also think that all those injuries have added up to a scenario of a player who just can't hang now in the modern NBA at his age, his talent level. I think it's done. He had that little run, and that's, again, it's the Jay Crowder of all of it. He's not Jay Crowder because he's obviously bigger, but these players who have these little runs, you go, oh, that's really interesting. Maxi Kleber, 25 off the bench. What a good rim protector. Put him in closing lineups. Larry Nance, so to speak. And it happens, and then you get 3 years out of it. Montrezl Harrell, backup center, who now plays in Australia. And even though he's like 31. It just hits him hard. Rashawn Holmes. So part of when you're playing Dynasty Leagues, being able to identify the guy where it's like, yeah, there's 10 years of this coming, or this is a 3-year thing that's going to get cut down immediately or replaced by someone better as soon as they can. Just always think of that distracted boyfriend meme or whatever it's called, with the guy holding hands and looking back at the other chick walking past. If there's any inkling that a team feels that about a player, be concerned in Dynasty. Not that that's necessarily the case here with Kleber, because his play just fell off. It wasn't like he was always looking to be replaced. His play just disappeared. But that's the two different things. There are these sort of guys. That's a really solid role player. The cliff comes hard, it comes fast. And the peak doesn't last that long. And that's realistically where we're at with old mate Maxi. We've got a couple more guys to talk about in this over 27 group for the Lakers. So we will do that as we come up. And honestly, we're not going to be talking much about these guys because the back end of this Lakers roster is like actually terrible. These are all guys, I believe, that were all acquired mid-season. Yeah, they are. These last three players. And let's go to Shake Milton, who came across as part of the Dorian Finney-Smith deal. Shake is at least someone on this team who's got usage juice. The old UJ. He can bump up when needed. 17 usage, he's 29. He shot 36 from 3, 80 from the line. 2 assists in his 15 minutes. He averaged 11 fantasy points. He's quite inconsistent. It's not like, I don't think he's going to be on this squad. It's not ridiculous, though, to suggest that Shake could actually be more useful than a Gabe Vincent in the second unit. But the problem with someone like Shake is when you've got Austin Reeves and you've got Luka Doncic and they're going to be splitting ball handling duties and trying to run one of them on the bench when the other's on the court, all that sort of stuff, is that Shake sort of doesn't fit in because he doesn't defend well. He's a guy that does need to be like, he's more of a hybrid combo guard, but there is shooting. He's not a great off-ball guy. He's not a terrible off-ball guy. Like, what is he, 77th percentile time on ball? I thought he's okay. I think if they do end up cutting him due to the non-guarantee and all that sort of stuff, if he ends up on another team and finds himself in a backup spot, like, I'm not going to rule him out of being deep league relevant, but we saw Shake struggle in Brooklyn. We saw Shake in Minnesota, I think it was, struggle quite a bit. In Philadelphia, he had some moments. Did he go to Minnesota? Am I imagining that? I'm pretty sure he did. And he had a couple of okay times here, but I think that someone like Jordan Goodwin has jumped past him now. And that makes it hard to get excited. Like, I'm not out on him because self-shot creation and shooting proficiency, they are important skills, but they don't always make sense. This guy's skills are done. Alex Len, top 5 overall pick, whenever that was. I thought he could be better than what he showed. Well, you would hope anyway as a top 5 guy. But that cliff is clearly hit. 1.6 points, 2 rebounds, 22 on threes, can't hit free throws, low usage, 8 minutes a game. They came in, they thought he'd be the answer to their starting center problem or backup center, and then he played and they went, we're good. We don't need to see any more Alex Len in our lives, and we don't really need to see much more Alex Len in our lives from fantasy. He was 0th percentile in DPM Delta. Yeah, fair. I don't know what Drip was saying, 72nd percentile, no chance. Doesn't protect the rim anymore, can't shoot. He's old. He's 32. The game has gone past him. Shout out to Alex Len. Now, the last player we're going to talk about in this over 27 show, maybe he's got a career lined up after basketball in giving complete dead shit takes on TV. And it's Markieff Morris. At least we know that when he's not playing games, because he doesn't play games, he's at least not watching them as well. He's 36, 21 usage. He only played 15 games. He averaged 8 points, 8 fantasy points, 4 points in real life, 30% shooting, 25 from 3. Nobody should be signing Markieff Morris, including you, ESPN. You know where the best place for him is? Maybe this is where he's going to end up. Go be a guest on Gil's Arena so that all of the shit takes can be put in one spot and we know to avoid them all. Go over there. Because he's not playing in the NBA again, I'm pretty sure. He doesn't watch the NBA, clearly, or understand a lot of what's happening. So, we're done with Markieff Morris. We're past the need for Markieff Morris in the NBA, and I'm past the need for any more of this show. We are going to come back later on today with a show on the under 27s, and that is Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, First round draft steal. Can't believe he slipped to pick 16. Dalton Connect, 17. We'll talk about all those guys in the show coming later today. You won't miss it if you subscribe. So what are you waiting for? Hit the button. Double bang it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.